Hi, welcome to Bookie. Today we will unlock the book in a sunburned country. When we talk about Australia, probably the first two things, if not the only things that come to your mind, are kangaroos and koalas. But what exactly is Australia like and what's unique about its people? Before exploring the answers through this bookie, let's get one thing straight. Australians are an optimistic bunch of people. The author shared the following anecdote to illustrate this point. Picture this: you are swimming in the ocean when an underwater current suddenly pulls you and carries you out to sea. How do you react? Most people will panic and scream for help, perhaps while flapping in the water desperately to attract the lifeguards. But one of the author's Australian friends told him that in such situation, the only thing you should do is to keep calm, probably wave your arm a bit and wait for the lifeguards to spot you and get rescued. Why are Australians so optimistic? The answer lies in their local history, culture, and customs, which are laid out comprehensively in this book in a sunburned country. Bill Bryson chose the best way to take an in-depth tour of Australia, a 72-hour train ride across the continent. During his journey, he made some new friends and met some old ones too. From them, he learned about the animals and plants with Australian characteristics. Bryson observed the locals to understand their personalities. He had profound discussions with them while also telling them jokes that they could not understand. Bill Bryson is an Honorary Fellow of the Royal Society who has worked for The Times and The Independent in London. He has also written articles for the New York Times and National Geographic. His works are mainly travel essays and humorous popular science books, including a few that have been released on Bookie, such as A Short History of Nearly Everything, At Home, A Short History of Private Life, and I'm a Stranger Here Myself, Notes on Returning to America After 20 Years Away. Through his humorous and sharp writing style, Bryson offers a unique perspective on the history of the exploration of the Outback. We will learn about Australia's unique creatures and historical anecdotes, sightsee the famous local attractions, and experience the customs of Australia. Next, we will unlock the essence of the book in 3 parts. Part 1, The Past and Present of Australia. Part 2, Australia's Climate, Creatures, and Resources. Part 3, Not So Little Known Facts About Australia. Okay, let's start with Part 1, The Past and Present of Australia. Australia is located in the Southern Hemisphere. Separated by the vast Indian Ocean from Africa, and by the Pacific Ocean from the Americas. So, how did Aboriginal Australians first arrive in this remote continent, and how was it discovered by Europeans despite the vast distance from other continents? Researchers have found evidence that suggests the ancestors of Aboriginal Australians landed in the northern part of Australia at least 65,000 years ago. Their arrival depended on the wind or ocean currents. When they wanted to return, they did not encounter ocean currents or wind to help them go back. It was impossible to go home with boats that could not withstand the journey, so they stayed and settled down in Australia. The first European who arrived in Australia was Luis Vias de Torres, who was Spanish. At first, he thought it was just a small island and he left without further exploring the interior. Then, a Dutchman, Abel Tasman, arrived in Australia after that. Prior to his arrival, some of his followers had died at the hands of Maori people. Hence, when he saw Australia, he was not keen to carefully explore it. He assumed that Australia was a small island just like Fiji, so he also left. In 1770, Captain James Cook from the United Kingdom sailed in HMS Endeavour to Cape Everard in southeastern Australia and then continued to sail north. During the journey, Cook found that this land was much larger than imagined. After they passed the northernmost Cape York, Cook stepped ashore and claimed the east coast of Australia for Great Britain. This also became the starting point of the European invasion of Australia. Cook's fleet happened to arrive during Australia's wet season. Before they could feel